it is a huge honor for me to be interviewing my buddy Jill Coon. I've known you since day one in 1987. I think you've been in the field for 30 years, even though you look like you could be my daughter. And you're a really interesting rare breed in the fact that I only know a couple of hygienists or office manager who eventually one day said, "Hell, I'm gonna start my own dental office or partner with the dental offices." Another friend of mine in Arizona here in Phoenix, Michael Bonono, he decided after being office manager for years to start his own practice and be an equity shareholder. I know you've done everything. You started out as dental assisting. I think you got a job when you were 16 years old in oral surgery. You started out in blood and guts. That's why it saddens me that you've moved to the paperwork side of things instead of oral surgery. I mean, what's more fun than pulling 4 wisdom teeth out? But congratulations on all you've done. You've been helping dentists on Dental Town and Facebook and for years. So what's got you excited today in dentistry?
Just everything. I like the changes. I like to see what's up and coming, what's new. I like to educate everybody and keep everybody informed and in the loop of the changes that are going on.
And there's a lot of changes going on, especially where you're. It seems like you're focusing a lot on dental insurance reimbursement, and that's that we've seen a lot of changes in our life. Remember back in '87 where the big deal was capitation, and everybody thought capitation was going to take over dentistry, and there was publicly traded companies like Orthodontic Centers of America was on the New York Stock Exchange, and the orthodontists thought chain orthodontic clinics were going to take over everything, and then Orthodontic Centers of America spectacularly imploded, and then there was a dozen DSMOs on NASDAQ, and everybody said corporate dentistry is going to take over. Then they all imploded and were gone for 10 years. So it sounds like we're in round 2. Now everybody thinks corporate dentistry is back. They think Obamacare. Tell a dentist, what advice would you give them on dental insurance? Because don't you spend a lot of time on that? I mean, isn't that a big focus of yours these days?
Yes, and basically what I do is I train offices on how to verify dental insurance to be able to accurately quote their patients. I don't necessarily say you have to be a network to be able to do this, but you want to be able to understand what the insurance benefits are for your information only, to be able to educate your patients what their copays are and collect accordingly so you're not balance billing anybody.
Now, Jill, back in the day, there was a company called Trojan, kind of a strange name, that did that for you. Maybe that was why they called it Trojan, to protect you. Are they still in the game? Are they still out there?
You know, I've noticed that they are still out there. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know how thorough they are with the verifications. I do know that the more thorough that you want them to be, the pricier they are with the verifications. Most of these.
Now, in my office, we literally call. We have a human being call on each one. Kalani calls every single patient's insurance and gets a voice deal. Do you think that's? And we fill out a sheet. Do you think that's overkill? Do you do a lot of this via website, or do you like to talk to a human, or what's your thoughts on that?
At least once a year, you get on the phone and you call and you find out if the benefits are the same. You do the complete breakdown. And complete meaning, like maybe in your office, if you do porcelain crowns instead of, let's say, the porcelain, the high noble metal, you want to know certain, what am I going to say, certain instances of what covered, what's not covered, waiting period, you know, if it's downgraded, those kind of things. So I check everything from soup to nut from the beginning to the end. So that once a year, you want to get on the phone and do it. And then after that, when the patient comes in each time, I just log online just to make sure they're still active, that the group number didn't change or that the benefits didn't change. If I see change in the benefits, I will call again.
Do you have that sheet in front of you? How many questions do you actually ask? Do you have your sheet in front of you, or?
I know my sheet by heart, but I sent it to you.
Oh, I'm sorry. It might be in front of me. Can you go through that? I mean, I think there's a ton of dental offices that never even have done this or thought about it, or.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And then at the end of the podcast, I'll happily email it to you so you have it and you can share it with everybody. Basically what I do is I ask for preventive services. I want to find out what's covered, if the frequency of the exams are covered, like the pop and focus exam, does it go against the frequency of the initial exam or the periodic exam? Can you do treatment the same day with the problem focused exam? The reason I ask these questions is because if it goes against the frequency and you've got the patient in the chair, then you need to know to collect that money. And sometimes even those problem focused exams can fall under basic services where you have a copay now. If it's covered, you might have a copay and a deductible to meet. So that's why you want to be really detailed with everything that you ask. Cleanings, for example, regular prophylactic cleaning. They can be allowed 2 times a year, 2 times in a 12-month period, or 1 every 6 months. Those are 3 different things. Okay? If someone said 2 in 12 months, you can have somebody come in January, and you can have somebody come in April, but if they come back in before that 12-month period, it's not going to be covered on that 3rd time. If it's covered 1 every 6 months, and they came in January and April, the April one's not covered. Do you see what I mean? If it's 1 every 6 months to date, and you did the April cleaning again and it wasn't covered, it's because it's shy of the 6 months. If you did it 6 months plus 1 day, it might be covered. See what I mean? That's why you ask all these questions. So I started with the preventive on my sheet. I always ask if you're in or out of network, if they pay based on usual and customary, the insurance company, and the latest thing that we've noticed over the past 2 years, I've noticed that there's a lot of shared networks with the dental insurance. For instance, if you're with Cigna PPO, let's say you're out of network for Cigna.
Okay, Jill, I got to stop you. There's on iTunes, we've had tens of thousands of downloads, and a lot of the non-US people don't know what some of these terms are. So try to, when you use a fancy term that they wouldn't know if they're not working in the United States, could you explain that as you go? Like what is in network and out of network?
Okay, in-network means that you're a participating provider for the insurance company, which means that you are under contract with the insurance company to accept whatever fee schedule they give you. Out of network, you can use your usual and customary fees. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Does that help, Howard? Okay. And basically, if you're out of network and your usual and customary fees are above average, let's say that you charge $116 for a cleaning, and in your area, the usual and customary for that specific plan may be $100. Then you will technically balance bill your patient the $16 to get your full fee of the $116. And when you're verifying the insurance, if you're not a participating provider, you ask them, you say, okay, this is my normal and customary fee. Are we within usual and customary? Some insurance companies will say no. Some will offer to give you that rate that is usual and customary, so you don't have to guess. Others will make you ask 3 or 4 questions to get that number, like is 116 in usual and customary? Is 115 usual and customary? Is 100 usual and customary? So you kind of play that game to ask questions to get your answers.
Crazy.
It is, but it works. I mean, when I had my dental practice and I was doing the billing, if I had to send out 5 statements a month on $1 million a year practice, that was a lot. The rest of my money was waiting on insurance pending, and again, following up on 5 claims a month for the outstanding claims, that was a lot if I had to do that. When I sold my business, we only had $30,000 in accounts receivables, and that's because we were waiting for insurance under 30 days.
And what would you say the average dental office is? 1 month's production is in their account receivables. Would you say the average is 30? Your 30-day average production or collection is about what your account receivables are?
Well, if you're doing $100,000 a month, and I'm trying to think in my head what it would be. If you're doing $100,000 a month, using the insurance company's fee schedule, if you're a participating provider, it would be easier for me to explain this. If you're using the insurance fee schedule, you're doing $100,000 a month, roughly about 35% is going to be outstanding.
So you're saying only 10 days. 10 days office production should be your account receivables.
Pretty much.
That's amazing.
Yeah, if you're collecting and doing it correctly, yes.
So did you want to continue on that insurance breakdown that call, or did you cover that all?
No, you want me to keep going?
Yeah.
I'm ready to keep going. Okay, so we did the preventive part, which is the exam and the cleaning part. Okay, then the x-rays. Now let's get into the x-rays. There are some offices that when you go in to get your teeth cleaned, you want to find out if people have history of, let's say, a full set of x-rays or bite wings or periapicals. If they have history, you need to know if the insurance company is going to cover it and how it's covered. If they're not going to cover it, then you go ahead and you collect for it. If it falls under the deductible, you need to be aware of that. And if it falls under basic services, you need to be aware of that. So that way you can figure out your copays correctly and collect accordingly. I've seen plans cover bite rings at 100%, but I've seen periapicals fall under the deductible at 80% coverage. So this is why we ask every itemized detail, especially under the preventive, because we all assume x-rays are under preventive. We all like to assume that problem focus exam is under preventive, and that's not always the case. Ironically so, there are some plans too, when I'm verifying insurances, that preventive doesn't even fall under their maximum, their calendar year maximum. Some plans can have $1,500 maximum, $2,000 calendar year maximums, or plan year maximum, if you will. And some can also have even higher, or lower. It depends. I've seen as high as $15,000 a year. It just depends on the plan. But you want to find out everything because you need to know if there's history. You need to know if it's covered, if it's not. So that part's done. Then we get into the basic services. The basic services would usually be fillings and root canals and extraction, maybe simple extraction most of the time. There are some plans that will cover the fillings. Let's start with the filling first. The reason I asked about the fillings is if your office does amalgam restoration, then you know you can basically figure out your percentages right away. Most practices I deal with, they do composite restoration. So there is no more amalgam. So I need to know, okay, do they downgrade these fillings on the back teeth? Meaning, does the insurance company allow for the benefit of a silver filling and then do the percentage off of that? Then you charge the patient the difference up to the white filling. So that's why you want to know all of this, because there are some times that they only downgrade it on the molars only, but sometimes it's downgraded on molars and premolars. And again, these fillings also have a history. So you want to know, did they have the filling 12 months ago, 2 years ago? Does their plan pay once every 12 months or once every 24 months? Most of the time I see it covered once every 12 months for children under 12 years old, let's say, and then the adults are usually, they allow it once every 24 months. Have you run into that with your office?
Yes, yes, absolutely.
Okay, well that's why I do that. And then I ask and I can accurately quote. Now back onto the root canal, same thing. Endo also has frequencies. If somebody's had a root canal done and they need to have an apical or a retreat, it may not be covered because they've had it already. So we want to know, is the tooth going to be covered? Have they had history? What is the time frame? And then when you're submitting these claims, that's another whole animal, but when you're submitting these claims, you want to put as much documentation into the remarks box on the claim. If I had a patient come in for a root canal, and they had root canal, let's say 3 years ago, and I want to find out if they had, what their history was and if they were insured by the same plan. And this particular plan said it's once every 24 months, so it's okay. You can go ahead and do the retreat if you need to. But what if it was done a year ago and you need to retreat it? Then you need to know what the patient's out-of-pocket is. You need to know that you're able to quote the patient accurately. Post and course and core buildup. I've seen actually core buildup covered under basic, and I've seen them actually covered under major. The post and core is always covered under major. But basically, the big thing that was buzzing around is Cigna. They always say that Cigna doesn't cover the core buildup because if you do the buildup at the same day as the crown, they don't cover it. But Cigna pays on seat date. I'm going to use this company as an example. So this is why you want to know, do you pay on prep or do you pay on seat date? And cores, usually you do them on the prep date, right? Because you're doing them, you're prepping the tooth, you're going to take the impression, and then you tell the insurance company the seat date, and then they'll pay the claim. It's not an issue. But that's why you ask how that's covered as well. Then we get into major services. And the major services would be your crowns and bridge, sometimes your extractions, especially the surgical extractions. And can I backtrack 1 second? Back
Absolutely.
to perio. Okay, perio also can fall under basic or major. But perio, you need to find out what it is that you're doing. Are you doing bone grafts? Are you doing extractions and bone grafts? Are you doing root planing and curettage? Are you doing osteosurgery? Are you doing anything like that? Again, there's frequencies with that. Is it covered? Is it not? How do we quote our patient? And what I do is I custom tailor my form that I will send you, Howard, again. I custom tailor my form for every practice that I'm working with. So let's say that you don't necessarily do osteosurgery, but you have a provider coming in that does it. And it's a specialist. Guess what? That specialist can be billed as out of network under that plan. He doesn't necessarily have to be in network if he's a true specialist. So it depends on the insurance company too and how they allow those provisions. But you want to know this because if I'm turning around and this guy's working for you and we're doing treatment for a patient and he's out of network, I want to make sure that I know if that check is going to come to me or is that check going to go to the patient because he's out of network. And how much is the patient going to pay? And how much is the insurance going to pay? The next thing is like root planing and curettage. They have frequency. Can you do the scaling of root planing the same day, all 4 quadrants? Can you do a cleaning the same day? Because most people, some patients might need only 1 quadrant or 1 to 3 teeth in 1 quadrant done, and the rest of the mouth needs the prophylaxis. And in order to understand your insurance benefits, I've seen offices where they'll code for the 4342, which is the actual root planing 1 to 3 teeth. They'll code for that. And then they'll code for the cleaning. And they'll submit to both, but then the insurance company will end up kicking it back and only paying for the cleaning. And they'll pay the lesser benefit. They won't allow for the other one. So you want to know, can you submit a cleaning the same day? If not, does it have to be a week apart? Does it have to be a day apart? Also, with scaling and root planing, you want to know, can you do all 4 quads the same day to get it covered? Or does the patient have to have a break in between? And then what's the frequency of that? Some allow only 1 per quad every 24 months. Some allow once a year. So that will also help you in quoting. All right, so that's it, I think, so far with basic. If I have to go back to that, I will. But now major services. Am I talking too much?
No, not at all. I'm loving it.
Okay. Under major services, we're dealing with the crowns and the buildups, like I said, and then even some surgical extractions could be there. And we want to find out, or implants can be there, are they covered? Is the implant covered? Are the crowns covered? Are they downgraded? Are the implant crowns downgraded? The best yet that I've seen now is if you do sometimes 2 implants in an arch, it will be downgraded to a denture, a partial denture. Do they downgrade those implants restorative? They may not cover their implant placement, but they could cover the final restoration. But the insurance companies have the right to tell you, well, this patient's missing 2 teeth in this arch. It's going to be downgraded to a partial denture. But do you know that? Do you ask these questions? We assume that because they're missing 2 teeth, we think that it's going to be covered because we've extracted the teeth. It's not the case. So that's why we always ask on the sheet, okay, is there downgrades? How many teeth in an arch have to be missing in order for it to be downgraded? So that's basically the gist of that.
So how long should this take? And do you? I mean, first of all, when somebody from your front office calls an insurance company, how long does this usually take?
On average, it's about 15 minutes per person. On
Uh,
average, if you're physically calling, if you've already got the breakdown, it should not take that long. But if you're first doing it for the first time, and I'm also including the hold time from the insurance company by the time you get the rep on the phone. It's on average about 15 minutes per patient. But the ironic thing.
and how does a dentist train the front desk to be able to make this 15-minute phone call?
How does the dentist train? They hire
Yeah.
people. They hire people to train, or what I've done with my clients, I do virtual training with them. So I'll run through and I'll teach them how to fill out the form, what they need to look for in the form, and then we'll do a mock run through. And then I'll make them actually call a couple of patients and give them.
So this is one of your services where you long distance train a dentist receptionist. Well, first of all, what's the politically correct way to call a dental office front desk? some don't like the term receptionist. Some don't like front desk. What do you call them?
Dental front desk, dental office front desk, dental team. Either dental. It's not a manager, but it's a receptionist.
Okay,
The
okay.
person to the reception.
I get a lot of negative viewer mail on whenever I call the front desk a receptionist. But I don't want to. But I understand. What's that?
How about insurance coordinator?
How about
Insurance
what?
coordinator.
Yeah, but
Insurance coordinator.
if you say insurance coordinator, then treatment plan presenter, then office manager, I'm still looking for a generic word to cover administrative. Would you call them, maybe dental office administrators or, but so you have a service where if a dentist says, hey, my front desk administrator does not, we currently don't do this. We fill out, and I want to get this person trained, so they could call you.
Yeah.
And what
Yeah.
is and what would they call and what's your website?
Okay. They can call me at 561-319-4743, and my website is jillcooninc.com. JILLCOONINC.com.
And then the phone number one more time. That's your personal cell.
Yep. That's my
Wow.
personal cell. That's my excuse for everything.
Okay, and that was 561-319-4743.
Yes.
And how long does it take you to train someone to do that?
About an hour. About an hour to do it accurately. And then what I do is once I train somebody, I actually offer them support. So I will do a training with them, do a mock session with them. Then I'll have them verify someone's insurance and send me their sheet, and I can automatically see what's missing or what they need to work on, and then send it back to them. So I offer support with that afterwards too, which would be at least 3 calls afterwards of support if they need.
Yeah. So I don't know if that would hurt your business model, but we'd love to have an online CE course out on Dentaltown if you ever want to get together with Howard Goldstein and create a course for that. And might some might view the course and not need you, but some might view the course and then it might be more business overall. I mean, you never know.
Well,
But
guess what? You're going to be the first to know, and then this is going to be out there for everybody. I'm actually creating a program and, of course, a curriculum course to actually teach people how to do insurance and teach people how to actually do this like I do virtually. So I'm actually developing a program, so I'm happy to actually put it out there for you, and you can put it there for continuing education credits, and we can put it on Dental Town.
oh, you just
It's
made
going to
my
be a
day.
it's
It's
going
gonna
to
be
be a
what? A video?
video series.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
video theory. There's theories where they do have to get certified, and they'll get certification at the end so that they know what they're doing. Because I've been into offices so many times where I've seen people say that they understand insurance and they know what they're doing, and I've been like, really? If you know what you're doing, then why is this way?
Well, I always say, in dentists, you only manage three things: people, time, and money. You only have three functions. You make something, sell something, watch the number. And I can tell you that dentists, they just always dream about doing root canals and placing implants and bone grafts and CEREC and CAD CAM. And I mean, we didn't go to dental school because we had a passion to learn insurance and accounting and payroll and all the administrative stuff. So it's hard for most dentists to get interested in it. Jill, you've been a dental consultant for 30 years. You're a hygienist. You've consulted in practices around the nation. When you walk into your typical Joe average dental office, what errors are you seeing from the business side, the administrative side, the front end side? Because she's too interested in bone grafting techniques and not the front desk. What errors do you see the most?
I'll say this politically correct.
Oh, don't be. Not on a Howard Speaks podcast. I mean, the last thing anyone would call me is politically correct. In fact, I am politically incorrect, but I'm dentally incorrect. But what do you normally see?
I see a
Take
lot
off
of
your gloves and tell the truth.
I see a lot of people that have not been trained properly. I see a lot of people trying to cut corners and do things the quick way, shortcuts, not being very detailed oriented. I see a lot of people just, if they don't understand let's say that you get an explanation of benefits back from the insurance company and you don't understand what they're asking, they kind of shove it on the side and you're not getting paid for that. I see a lot of claims outstanding over 30 days old. It's just the efficiency part is not there. So it's not details because it's not necessarily the team member's fault. It's just that they haven't been trained, or they've been poorly trained and carried it from office to office.
And another thing I've always seen, it seems like when a staff person is dropping the ball, they actually spend more time courting the dentist relationship. They'll come into work with donuts. They're always flattering them, and it always seems like his favorite or her favorite employee is almost always the most useless. And then the person who's up there just busting their butt, and the dentist comes up and wants to say something or a joke or do this, they're like, come on, get out of my way. I got things to do. Get out of here. And then that dentist doesn't like that person, and that's the one just crushing it on every level. So I always see it. You also see it in staff turnover when you see a dental office and the average staff's only there like 2 years, going back 20 years. But one person's been there 20 years. And who is that? Oh, it's doctor's favorite. And then as soon as that doctor walks out of the room, it's Dr. Jekyll and different, not Dr. Hyde. And, it's just batshit crazy. So I want you right now to talk to a dentist who just got out of an implant course, and he's all excited about implants, and she just learned how to bone graft, and she's listening to this thinking, man, I don't pay any attention really to a lot of that stuff. What should that dentist be thinking about? Go through a checklist of a dentist focused on too much dentistry that could roll up her sleeves and go look at the front desk and make sure they're dotting I's and crossing T's. What would they be looking for?
Honestly, I think that just need to start worrying about their to see what their collections are, if there's any outstanding claims. They need to go through to find out, to see if are they collecting what they're producing. They need to actually, I honestly believe doctors and dentists should be trained on how to verify insurance so they understand what the staff is going through. Because honestly, when you got a staff member come to you telling you, Dr. Farran, it takes me 15 minutes to verify the insurance. I can't wait for the patient to come in that day to verify it because we're so far behind because we've got 10 chairs going. I think in order for you as a dentist to understand what we as front desk people do, or as office administrative people, if you will, do, then we need to put you in that box with us. You've got to learn to do our stuff. Unfortunately, we can't be in your box because we're not licensed to go drill teeth, but you're the business person. You were not taught to be a business person in dental school. I know you're a business person, but most dentists, they want to think that they're business people, and business savvy, but they really don't understand the insurance. They don't understand the business side of it. And it is truly numbers, but you have to understand the numbers.
And that natural curiosity built one of America's billionaires, Sandy Weil, the founder of Citigroup and Citibank. And you know what happened to this kid? You know why he became a billionaire? He was just a Brooklyn boy, got a job at a bank, and he just had this one question. He says, when my mama writes a check at the grocery store, and she gives it to the grocery store, where does it go, and how does it get the money from my mom's bank account to the grocery store? And he was working at a bank. Nobody could answer the question. They just said, it goes to some clearinghouse, it does something. Nobody could explain to him. So here's a little Brooklyn boy, rolls up his sleeves, and he's working at a bank, and he just keeps chasing down the exact process. And the deeper he dug down into it, the more he realized it was just completely crazy. It was completely unorganized. And then computers were coming along. So he got into so think of a dental office where you think of dentistry as root canals, fillings, crowns. He got into your section, the administrative part, and he started adding computers and streamlining it. And it was so efficient. He started doing the business for other banks. And Citibank got so huge because they completely automated and made everything on the back end so functional. And there's a man who rode all the way to the top just by dotting every I and crossing every T and trying to find the nitty-gritty details of how does a check clear. I mean, that was an amazing book, Sandy Weil. You got to read that book. And what percent of dentists do you know can go up there at the front desk and monitor today what's going on up there?
Oh, none.
Yeah, none. And That's why many of my consulting friends, I know a dozen, or not a dozen, probably 30, 40 dental office consultants over the last 30 years, and they said they walk in to offices, 50% of them have embezzlement going on today because the doctor's clueless. They're not. Yeah, and you can even have your bank. I got the Chase app on my phone. You could see your deposit on your iPhone every night when you walked out to see if there's any cash deposited, what the deposit was. So how do you try to get a dentist interested in this?
Any dentist who wants to grow their business and who wants to see changes. I mean, really what I do, let me explain what I do to get dentists to see what I do. My clients that come to me, they come to me because they know their front desk needs help, meaning they'll call me because they're running behind and they need somebody to verify insurance, or they might need me to work on outstanding claims or credit balance reports, as you know, other things, anything that they need. I'll go in and I'll start doing the searches. And the reason that I started to do the virtual stuff that I do, the virtual office manager that I do, is because I like to make a difference in the practices around me. So what I do is I go in and I can clean that up, or I can go through and see what's going on, and I can make an immediate difference in the practice collection just on that, without changing a thing on your side. I don't have to go to your office and say, okay, well, this team member needs to do this, and you guys need to do, where you're handing the chart, the Passover or the crossover with the charts, and tell the dentist how to talk to the patient, or tell the staff how to. I don't do any of that kind of consulting. I do the immediate stuff on the numbers, so that they can see that, okay, wow, she's able to clean that up and she's able to keep me collecting. And now she's verifying my insurance, and I'm noticing a difference in my collections because my team has what they need to do what they're doing. So now I've made the difference. So, of course, if they see it, then they're going to understand it. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
And that's what I like to focus on, is making the difference. I mean, I also do medical billing, but we're not going to talk about that today. That's another whole animal. So
Medical billing for dentistry?
Yes, because for instance, I've had a couple of patients that have had implants done, and they've had to have the implants in the sinus elevation, and I've gotten implants covered that way. I've gotten patients that have diabetes, or even pregnant patients that need replating and curettage done. That some of that stuff can go under medical. Even cancer patients, some of their treatment can go under medical. So it just depends, but like I said, that's another whole animal. There is a lot involved with medical billing. A lot of offices have started it and feel like it doesn't work, and they walk away. But you really have to be a registered provider to bill medical. It doesn't mean you have to be in network, but you have to sign up to be a provider so that the medical insurance recognizes you as a provider.
I want to say one thing you also said about going back on the composite restorations. A lot of time they're downgraded to the amalgam fee, and that's a pet peeve of mine because dentists don't want to hear this. Everybody wants to hear that the tooth color, whiter, brighter, sexier filling is the best filling. And the bottom line is the old, ugly metal silver fillings that are half mercury last twice as long as these composites. And every dentist I say it to says, oh, maybe your composites, but not my composites. But when you look at the average amalgam in the United States, it's probably about 14 years. When you look at the average composite in the United States, it's probably about 7 years. But the reason they downgrade it to the amalgam fee is because these dentists never do amalgam. So the last time they submitted their amalgam fees, it was probably 1985, and it was real low. And they keep raising their composite fee. So I talk to the insurance company. I say, why do you downgrade the amalgam fee? And they go, well, amalgam, usually the submitted fee for that is half the price of a composite. If every dentist in America would start doing amalgams again because they last twice as long, especially when the patient is an old, bald, ugly guy like me who just wants it to last forever. I'm not trying to win any beauty contest by having white resin fillings on my molars. But if they would start doing them and submit the fees for them like they would on a composite, this downgrading to an amalgam fee would disappear. But it does concern me that dentists don't do amalgams when they're clearly indicated in certain patients, especially like Alzheimer's, dementia. The person doesn't even know the name of their children. They have no home care. There's a certified nurse assistant making $11 an hour who's in charge of 20 people in a wing. And I mean, you're a hygienist. If you followed me, and I've done it to a dozen nursing homes, if you followed me as a hygienist show for 30 years and watched how long a certified nurse assistant for $11 an hour brushes grandma's teeth with Alzheimer's, I mean, it's 30 seconds. And
I know.
the toothbrush never hit a premolar, a molar, or the lingual of any surface. It just swish, 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 and spit in a Dixie cup. And I'm just standing there like, wow. It's kind of like when you go to the physician. As a dentist, don't tell them you're a physician because their oral exams, they take a popsicle stick and they say, open your mouth, and they say, ah, and you say, ah, and then they throw the stick away. And I'm just thinking, what the hell was he looking for? A gerbil to pop out of my mouth? A dove to fly out? A scorpion? I mean, you couldn't have done any form of exam. I mean, there'd have to be a tumor the size of a ping pong ball hanging on my uvula for them to even see a thing. So it's crazy. So tell me more about your virtual assistant thing. And so how do dentists find you? How long do they work with you? I mean, do they call you up? Are you kind of like an emergency disaster? Your house floods and a disaster guy comes out here and shop vacs all the water out of me. Or do they just find out they're over 90 on their account receivables and call you and say, Jill, I'm over 90. Can you get me to over 10 to 15 days? And then you take it from there for a week or two? Or walk us through your average client.
My average client is somebody, let's say that they've had a change of staff and they don't have the personnel right now to be able to submit claims or do things, and they may need help or they're overwhelmed. Because I'm more of an adjunct to the front desk as well, and to the front desk team where I'll go in, but they find me that way. They find me because they need extra help. For instance, I filled in for somebody that was on maternity. So my services could either be contract, they're all contract, but whether they're project based or whether they're permanent or whether it's ongoing on a monthly, month to month. Meaning, some of the things that I can do so you understand, when a doctor calls me, and sometimes it's a front desk person that calls me, or an office administrative staff that'll call me and say, hey, listen, I need help because I can't really get all this done. Can you do this for me for a little while until I get caught up? And it works out. And then we get on the phone with the doctor. The doctor ends up telling me, I really like this concept. Can you stay on board with me for long term? And I've got clients still to this day that have been with me for 3 years, since I actually started the virtual side of it. I've got clients that have been with me 6 months. I've got a client that actually comes and goes. And I have clients that I actually log in once a month just to run the reports, just to see how they're doing.
So you log into their management information system. How do you do that through? What kind of program do you do? Is that?
It could be Access Anywhere. It could be Go to My PC. It could be Log Me In. It can be any of those programs that you want to log in, like anywhere.
And what practice management software systems do you work with the most, and which ones do you like? I mean, there's Dentrix, EagleSoft, SoftDent, PracticeWorks, Open Dental. Do you work with all of those?
And Mac Practice too. Yes, all of them.
And if a dental student was listening, these podcasts are huge in dental schools, and they were coming out from the administrative side. Do you have any favorites on the management information systems?
Right now, I'm honestly going to say I love Dentrix. I really love Dentrix myself. Dentrix is Dentrix and Open Dental are my two favorites because they're comprehensive. They're really easy to work. They're similar to each other. And truthfully, Dentrix is the most user-friendly. If you realize anytime, honestly, when was the last time you hired a new front desk person to fill in?
You know why Dentrix is the most user-friendly?
No.
Since I'm 52 and started in 87, I started on SoftDent, so of course I'm still on SoftDent, and it has a different owner about every 15 to 20 minutes. I think Carestream owns it now. I don't even know when they tell me it's under new ownership. I just think it'll be someone else in a couple of years. But I've stayed with it. That was the old DOS system.
Mm-hmm.
And Dentrix, started up in Provo, Utah, by Gordon Christian. They saw that when Microsoft Windows came out, that was very different than DOS driven. And Dentrix is the only one who said, you know what? I think this DOS and Microsoft. This is when Microsoft wasn't a sure bet. They said, I think this is a game changer. So Dentrix was a virgin company that started on Windows. I think it was Windows 3.0. Whereas and the other systems are DOS systems, and they're programmed to kind of look like Windows, but they don't have the functionality that you're used to and all. So everything you're used to on Windows is in Dentrix. So you're right. It is massively user-friendly, more user-friendly. And some of those older legacy systems should just start from scratch and rewrite the thing.
You know what I started on? Dental Mac. You remember Dental Mac?
Yes, I do. What were those two guys' names? They were Bernie. I used to call them Bert and Ernie. It was two guys. They look like Bert and Ernie. And now that disappeared, and now Dental Mac is making a comeback. I think they're out of Nebraska.
Well, no, it's Mac Practice. Is
Yeah,
it
yeah,
Mac?
yeah.
Yeah,
Mac Practice.
yeah. They still have some glitches, but Mac Practice is okay. It depends on what the clearinghouse is that you're using to submit your claims with.
I think Mac Practice is onto something because when people are business people, it's easy to look at a market and say, oh, half the market's boys and half's girls, and it looks like we should focus on makeup mascara to the girls and not the boys. Race is another low hanging fruit. They say, oh, there's Howard's Irish and that guy over there is Mexican, and there might be different demographics there. But where people miss the most is age demographics. I mean, senior citizens think very differently than baby boomers versus Generation Xers. And Dentaltown just passed the app on the phone just passed 30,000 downloads. 85% of them went to an iPhone. And when people log on to Dentaltown, if they're coming from a dental school, it's all Macs. So demographically, the old guys like me who are on a DOS um, what's mine? Soft end. I mean, the only future I have is probably a coronary heart attack any day now. I'll be opening the refrigerator, reaching for a chunk of cheese and a beer, and then I'll be replaced by a dental graduate with an iPhone and a Mac. So I would keep an eye out on that Mac. It's Mac practice, right? And
Yeah, but right now there's still some glitches with it. And the Mac Practice it takes longer to go around things, but it takes time. There is a learning curve with it.
are they out of Nebraska?
I don't know. I don't think I can tell you that, but I do. I know the phone number to call them and stuff. I've never paid attention, so but when I go in with them, I like it. But what I don't like is when you do the attachments, it doesn't tell you the truth numbers. Like with even SoftDent, which I love SoftDent. I just
Really,
wish they kept it. Yeah, I used to have SoftDent when I had my practice. I loved it. SoftDent was
really.
my at the time. Yeah.
Well, what about now? I'm still on it. So let's make this podcast just about me. Should I keep it or should I switch?
If it's not broke, don't fix it. There's really no reason to fix it right now. You're still sending your claim fine. It's fine. Unless you want to go cloud based eventually, like everybody else is going to be doing.
I think there's a big monkey wrench in the cloud base, Jill, and that's the uploading a CBCT file. I mean, now, and we've gone from these little digital X-rays to the CBCTs, and everybody's telling me that to upload a single CBCT to the cloud is 2 hours.
Is it really?
Yeah, so a lot of people are saying if you do go to the cloud, you're not going to be moving your CBC. Yeah, there's a gazillion bytes of data on a CBCT. It's forever and a day. Um,
Okay.
but I would have to say on Dental Town, if I was starting from new, it seems like this could be my perception. Maybe you're different. You've been on Dental Town forever. Thank you so much for your 500 plus posts. But it seems like the most raving fans are always Open Dental.
Yes.
Would you agree with that?
Dental doesn't have to be. Yes, but Open Dental, from what I understand, isn't it also software based? Like it meaning it can be your hard drive and it also could be cloud based. Can't you do both with Open Dental? Can you choose what you want?
I think so.
Yeah, so it just depends. But Open Dental is just as simple as Dentrix. I think people just like a change. They want something different. That's why they're raving. It's just as user friendly as Dentrix to me. The reports are pretty similar. The layout and the use of it is very simple. It's the same. It's pretty much the same.
Yeah, Open Dental reminds me of anybody who's CrossFit and does CrossFit. You can't meet a patient for more than if they do CrossFit, they have to tell you within 3 minutes of shaking your hand that they do CrossFit every day. And you're like, okay. I mean, they just have the most raving fans. So give some more, Jill. I've had you for now for 45 minutes, so I'm three-fourths done. I've only got 15 more minutes. Try to coach this dentist again. The average dentist, you and I both know them. They can't do anything up front. They're completely all they want to do is make something. We put a course up on Dental Town on root canals to get 10,000 views. You put one on how to efficiently run your front office, you get 2 views, and that was probably because someone accidentally clicked the wrong button. Talk this dentist through. Talk this dentist through what they should be paying attention at the front desk. Because you're a hygienist who's owned a dental office, sold dental offices all over. What should this dentist, the next time they want to spend all day Saturday at a root canal convention, they should spend the next day Saturday going to their front office and doing what? What should they be looking at?
They should actually start running some reports. They can run audit trail reports. They can run outstanding claims reports. They can run collections reports. They can run unscheduled treatment plan reports. They could run patients that are overdue for hygiene appointments. You know, there's a bunch of reports that actually equate to numbers. You know, the dentist that actually picked.
Now the audit trail. You should never run the audit trail report because then it's a 50% chance you're gonna have to fire your front office for embezzling money. Go through the audit, and when you go through these reports, Jill, when you owned your own dental office, were you running these? What were you running daily versus weekly versus monthly versus quarterly versus once a year?
Okay.
Audit trail.
Actually, I ran everything, but every day I would run the unsubmitted claims report to make sure I didn't miss out on any claims that went out. Once a week, I would run the outstanding claims report. Daily, I would also run my closed reports, meaning to see what the day sheet is and the summary for the report, you know, whatever happened for that day. Just check to make sure my deposits match what I'm depositing, the credit cards match, make sure everything matches. Then I would actually run an audit trail report at the end of the day just to make sure nobody deleted anything. But when I set up everybody in my office to do things, I had certain restrictions. They weren't allowed to delete anything. So it depends on how your office is set up.
Well, Doc, you dentists out there listening, you notice if you just go to Target or Kohl's or Walmart and they have to delete, they did something wrong, they entered it wrong, they have to delete it. What do? They have to say, excuse me, I need a supervisor, and then they come and they stick in the key and they delete the obvious because that is what we called in MBA school internal control over peculation. And how you get to embezzlement is the same way you get to bankruptcy. You have one person in charge of everything. And, like in my office, like canceled checks are mailed to my home. The person that's going to get the mail and enter the insurance checks isn't the one making the deposit at the bank. You have to break up tasks. So that if at the very least, if you're going to have embezzlement, it's going to have to take 2 or 3 or more people. Another heads up on the dentist embezzlement, they're shocked to hear this. A good chunk of the time, it's your wife who's planning a divorce. I've seen that. No, I'm sorry, I've seen that 100 times where they're completely checked out. But the reason they're staying in this dysfunctional marriage is because they're moving $3, $4, $5, $6,000 a month into a savings account. And I've known I've known several that moved it to their favorite non-U.S. vacation spot, like Sydney, Australia, or Cabo, or in the Caribbean. And I know one dentist, by the time he figured out what was going on, I mean, his wife had been doing it for 8 years at the tune of like $6,000 a month. And I think so. Bottom line is, you want to do that audit trail and go over the audit trail. How do you do the audit trail?
It depends on the software that we're doing it, but I would actually run in and see what everybody's done with the transaction. I would see what they've done with prescriptions because I've actually had a team member, when I first hired this one employee, she phoned in a prescription for herself under the doctor's name, and I got a phone call from the pharmacist asking me to authorize the prescription, and it was for Vicodin ES at the time before you didn't need to have to print it out and send it in with the patient. Well, let me tell you something. I authorized the prescription, but I went into the office and I ended up firing the person on the spot because, no, you don't call in prescription. So that being said, you've got to pay attention to what's going on. It's something.
You know what one of my friends just lost his prescription license for doing?
What?
So dumb. His assistant, he was ordering the birth control pills. And he was doing it to save her money. Yeah, he was doing it to save her money. And it's like, oh my God. Well, I mean, Shine sells pharmaceuticals for everything. I mean, they're huge in vet, pharmacy, dentistry. You can order, pretty much any type of prescription. he got busted for that. So the audit trail. So you run the audit trail daily at the end of the day, and also that's also when I've been in dental offices. Usually it's a moneymaker. If I'm in a dentist office and you're in that audit trail, and the team looks at that, I mean, you always find at least one missed, didn't even enter an FMX or PAs and bite wings. I mean, have you ever ran an audit trail where someone looked at it and say, hey, they forgot to enter the bite wings or the FMX or this or that? So it's always a moneymaker, wouldn't you say?
Oh yeah, I mean always. And the thing is, the same thing. Like some offices that I work with, they have routing slips and they scan their routing slips in. So they'll write their notes on the routing slip, meaning what they've done, the procedures that they've done, not the actual treatment note. But
Well, tell me this: if you walked into 100 offices and looked at what was done on the schedule versus what was entered to be billed, what percent of the time would every dental procedure done be entered into to be billed for?
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go that. Okay, like I'm gonna use the client's office that I'm in today. At least twice a week, I'm finding something that's not billed or more. At least twice a week.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen it. I mean, and of course, maybe all my friends are not your not as attention to detail in the front office, but I've never seen it. I mean, if you just go in there and say, "Buddy, let's run this," and then look, and you go through it, and you always find $200-300. And it's like, how do you not run a daily report if it's always going to be $200 or $300? I mean, that just paid. I mean, $200 to $300. I mean, that's huge money. So then the unsubmitted claim. So what are you saying? They've entered the claim and they've sent the claims out over the internet, and something didn't go through, or what are you saying there?
Accidentally forgot to submit the claim. It wasn't like procedures not attached to insurance. In soft that's called unsubmitted claims. But in Dentrix, it's called procedures not attached to insurance. So basically, if you run these reports every day, you find out what you didn't submit. So because now insurance companies have timely filing, they didn't have them a couple of years ago. Now we're down to like 30 days. If you don't submit your claim within 30 days for some policies, you lost the money. You're out the money. So good luck trying to balance bill that patient. So I suggest that you run it every day, so that way you don't.
And what about and give Doc some numbers. If she has a hygienist that sees 8 patients, you're a hygienist? Do you recommend pre-appointing the next patient? Would that be unscheduled treatment if your patient came in and wasn't scheduled for a 6 month clean? Does that fall under unscheduled treatment in your mind, or?
Yes, it does. But that's a separate recall report. But yes, it still does. It does fall under unscheduled treatment because what happens is some people I believe in pre-booking, some people I don't. It depends on the patient. It depends on if you know that they're going to definitely show up. If those that cancel all the time, you don't want to do that. But you also want to have blocks of time for new patients and stuff. So depending on how your office is flowing, you want to make sure you have enough time to allow for a new patient to be in that schedule. But the bottom line is, yeah, I mean, you definitely want to, I'm sorry, you definitely want to be able to get them in the schedule, and you definitely want to run the recall report to be able to get them scheduled again. So to me, yes, it does fall under the unscheduled report, like you're asking me.
And I want to say one thing, if your dental office is listening to this. I know a lot of people do podcasts for staff meetings and all that, but you know what? Treat other people like you want to be treated. And in America, there's 150,000 dentists, 120,000 general dentists, 30,000 specialists, and 1 million staff. And those people, whenever they have a medical emergency, they always go to the emergency room and they just walk in without an appointment. And in my office at Today's Dental, we tell the staff, if someone walks in or calls in pain, then we're going to see them,
Exactly.
and we're going to work. We're going to work back from that. And we decide in the morning huddle who's going to go through lunch with Howard, because I'll give up lunch. I mean, I'm 30 pounds overweight. I see fat as just future meals already eaten, so I've got at least a week's supply of meals already in my abdomen. And usually the assistants who have children who have to leave at 5. They'll say, okay, well, I'll go through lunch because I don't want to go after 5. And then my 2 assistants without children, the smarter ones with higher IQs and much more money, they'll stay late because they don't have to do that. But so we do not turn down people in pain. They don't do it at hospitals. And real doctors don't turn down emergencies. And also, it still saddens me. To know of one patient that we lost that we never saw. They died of Ludwig's angina. Yeah, and she was only 6 years old. I'll never forget her name. Her name was Chastity. I mean, it's just amazing how an infection, some of these super bugs can just go crazy. And it went from an abscessed baby tooth to the middle of the night. She suffocated because her whole neck swelled up. I mean, it was just crazy. But emergencies have to be seen, and that's what I call an office culture. The fish rots from the head down, and it's got to be the doctor that sits there and says, if you have a policy, same day new patients, if a new patient wants to be seen that day, that can be tough. But same day emergencies, no. When they call the front desk, they say, I'm swollen, I'm in pain, I hurt, I can't sleep, I can't eat, I can't drink. We just say, come on down, and we work back from that problem, you know? And that's why we have an extra operatory for an emergency room, and that's why the staff has the right attitude. That's like, and sometimes it's as little as sometimes they'll just call. It'd be a reasonable patient like you, and they'll just call you up and say you're scheduled in 2 hours to be seen for something routine like a filling. Jill, I'm so sorry, but we got this lady, and tell her the pain. She's swollen, she can't sleep, she's crying, she's upset. Is there any way, Jill, you could reschedule your simple restorative filling or crown or whatever? And everybody likes to help someone. So we never have problems, just a simple phone call. And we do that too when they're running late. But this is about you, not me. I'm talking too much as usual. So Jill, I got 4 more minutes with you. Give them low-hanging fruit on these reports. You talked about unscheduled claims that didn't go out. You talked about the day sheet. Actually, I think the problem with the day sheet is going to be most people, especially younger dentists, don't even know what a day sheet is. Define what a day sheet is, first of all.
The day sheet itemizes the procedures that have been done for the day and totals the amount of production and collection for the day. So you'd want to do a balance and check with the day sheet to see. And your year-to-date, it also gives you your year-to-date to see what's going on, where you're at with your numbers. And you can find out what's submitted to insurance, what's not. It's usually listed on there.
Okay, so tell us again right now in these final minutes, what do you run at the end of every single day?
I run a day sheet,
A day sheet?
unsubmitted insurance,
A what?
unsubmitted insurance.
Unsubmitted insurance.
I submit all my claims, and then I want to see the report that goes out to the insurance. Like, did my claim get accepted or rejected? I want to go ahead, and if they're rejected, I want to fix it so that I can send that out and get them going. Because I don't want to find out in a month from now that they never received my claim. So that one, what else do I run every day? The Audit Trail, like we talked about. I'm trying to think. Now you put me on the spot. Thank you. What else? Michelle, just thinking out loud here. The insurance report.
Audit Trail.
Yeah, the insurance I run I run the insurance report once a month, over 30 days. Claims over 30 days, I run it once a month. Some people do it weekly. I think that's overkill. It depends on the volume of the practice. So if you have 22 chairs and you need to do that, then by all means do it. But if you're anywhere up to 6 operatories, you can do it once a month. What else? The day sheet, the credit card terminals. You want to batch them out and make sure they're done and close out the day.
That is my embezzlement friends are saying the credit card terminal now is the new hot embezzlement thing. What are they doing? They're I forgot the specific. Have you heard?
Yeah, they're opening up a new bank account with your name. Like, for instance, do you have stamps? Do you stamp? Yeah. Does your office have your stamp signature where they can sign your insurance forms or they can sign your?
Yes. Yeah.
Say bye-bye. Throw them in the trash. You need to be signing them yourself. Because I can, listen, I've worked for you for 10 years. You trust me. You like me. You know that I'm going to do a good job. I can take that, and this is courtesy of David Harris from Prosper. This is not me speaking, okay? But they can take that. If they're thinking like a criminal, they can take that and say, all right, I work for Dr. Farran. Here's his driver's license because you've given it to me. I'm going to go open up this bank account somewhere else. And then I can call the credit card processing company and route it into a different bank account and take your money without you.
But they're doing it with the the credit card too. They take a patient's. I forgot the details.
Yeah, that's different. They'll take the patient's credit card numbers and use it somewhere else. Is that what you're thinking of?
Well, some dental office staff are taking the patient's patient's credit card number and buying stuff online for themselves. But some are, I think they pay the credit card, and then when the patient leaves, they read. I forgot. It was on Dental Town. They debit it back, or they debit it back to a different account, or something like that. But yeah, and also
that bank account. Yeah, they have to open that separate bank account to be able to do it, to get it to go to the other account.
well, I can't believe our hour is over, and I just want to say that I'm a big fan of your posts on Dental Town. I'm a big fan of your posts on Facebook. I love the videos you post of your daughter dancing. Your daughter is just how old is she?
She's 10.
She's 10 years old.
She's 10 years old. She's singing tonight in a competition again.
So that's she. I remember. I think when she was 6 was the first time I saw on YouTube of her singing the national anthem or something. What was it?
Yeah.
Was it the national anthem? How many years ago was that?
Well, she's been singing since she's 5, really. And I think
Wow.
2 years ago she did Born to Fly video. That was her first professional video. And then she started doing the national anthem. And then recently she's been doing it a lot. And she did another video last year. She someday hopes to be on The Voice. So we'll see.
What's funny is when people say that there's no such thing as a good or bad singer. It's just you and just sing, and there's no right or wrong and just singing. I've had 4 boys, and when every one of them, before they were 1, I'd be rocking them, I'd be singing, they'd reach up with their hand and put their hand over their mouth, say, "No, Daddy, no." And I thought, man, when a 1-year-old kid wants you to quit singing, you are a horrible singer. But hey, Jill, I just want to thank you seriously. You've been in this field for 30 years. You're crushing it. You've helped so many people in Dental Town and Facebook, and I'm your biggest fan. And thank you so much for all that you do for dentistry, for all that you do for Dental Town, and thank you so much for spending an hour with me today.
Thank you for having me, Howard. I appreciate it.
And one last time, if they want to get in contact with you, www.jillcooninc.com.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank
Thank you
you.
very much, Jill. Have a rockin' hot weekend. Okay, bye-bye.